Get ready to discover the amazing secret journey of your favorite bath toy, from deep underground, right to your bathtub. Hold a rubber duck in your mind. It looks like it was born in a bathtub, but it's actually a globetrotter with a hidden past. Here's the big mystery. What is a rubber duck made of? Most are made from plastic, which often starts as oil and gas buried deep under the ground or under the ocean. To reach that oil, giant drills push through layers of rock like a super strong straw. We use oil to make many useful things, but drilling must be managed carefully to protect ocean life and prevent spill. On land, oil can come from wide fields with pump jacks nodding up and down all day. It brings energy and materials, but it also changes habitats, so planners work on safer zones, cleaner operations, and better monitoring. Oil isn't ready to be a duck yet. First, it travels to a refinery, where it's heated and separated into different chemicals, kind of like sorting a giant mixed-up soup into ingredients. One of those ingredients can become plastic pellets, tiny beads that factories treat like magic cooking ingredients. These pellets are small, but they're the start of millions of toys and everyday objects. Now for the color. That bright yellow often comes from pigments made through chemical processes using minerals and other compounds. Making pigments can create waste, so smarter factories try to capture leftovers and reuse materials instead of dumping them. Next stop, the toy factory, where heat does the heavy lifting. Imagine a machine squeezing melted plastic like thick honey into a duck-shaped mold. Inside that mold, the duck's body forms in seconds, then cools and pops out, plop, like a perfect copy. Factory engineers work hard to reduce wasted plastic by remelting extra bits and dialing in machines so fewer pieces get rejected. But a duck needs air to float, and it needs a sealed body to keep the water out. Some factories weld the pieces together with heat or ultrasonic vibrations, tiny fast shakes that fuse plastic without glue. Then comes the quality test, because nobody wants a duck that sinks. Workers and machines can squeeze, weigh, and even dunk sample ducks to make sure the seal is tight. Your duck might also get a tiny squeaker inside, made from more plastic or rubbery parts. Small parts are useful, but they also mean more materials and more steps, so designers sometimes simplify parts to reduce waste. Now let's talk about the global puzzle. The oil might come from one country, pigments from another, molds made from metal in a different place, and the factory could be across an ocean from you. Those cargo ships are floating cities of containers, moving mountains of stuff across the sea. Shipping is efficient for the amount it carries, but it still uses fuel, so companies and scientists are testing cleaner fuels and better routes. After the ship, trucks and trains take over, rolling the duck toward stores and homes. Every mile adds a footprint, which is why some brands try to make products closer to where people live. Finally, the duck arrives, clean and bright, ready for bath time adventures. It took earth materials, human planning, and a lot of energy to make something that fits in your hand. Now you're part of the duck story. If you take care of it, you make that long journey worth it. And when it's truly worn out, ask a grown-up about recycling programs that accept this kind of plastic, because throwing it away means all those resources get used only once.